What's going on, my dudes? This is Mr. Gardner and this is Math Time with Mr. G. Today we're going to do the most evil chemistry problem ever. It's the hardest problem we'll do all year. So if you can do this, you can do anything in this class. Okay, so a scientist has to make 10 liters of 20% acidic solution for an experiment, but she only has a 5% and 40%. So what that means is she's going to make a solution that is 20% acid and 80% water. But in her cabinet, she doesn't have this. She has a mixture of 5% acid and 95% water, and she has a mixture of 40%. She's going to pour both of these into a cup, and we're going to make it from 5 and 40 to 20. So that means we're going to dilute the 40% to get down to 20, and we're going to add acid to this 5 to get to 20, just by simply pouring these in. So naturally, we should have more 5% and less 40, because we're trying to get down to 20 and get up to 20. So less of this, more of this. So how do we figure this out? So I'm going to call this 5% X and this 40% Y. So I'm going to add X and Y to get to this Z solution. To the nearest tenth of a liter, about how many liters of the 5% and 40% would she have to mix to get the solution she needs? Okay, so we know that when we add this X and Y together, we're going to finish with 10 liters, which means that we're going to have X amount of 5%, Y amount of the 40%. We're going to pour it in, and we're going to get 10 liters. The next thing that we know is that when we add the 5% and the 40%, we're going to get 20%. But because we're talking about the whole thing, we have to then put X plus Y is equal to Z. But we know what Z is. Z is going to be 10 liters. That way, we know how much acid we're talking about. Because we can't add just acid and acid, we have to talk about the whole thing. We're going to multiply the whole thing by how much of that is acid. So when I do that, 2 liters of this whole thing is acid. So now we can talk about this 40% and this 5% in the form of acid. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just get one of these letters by themselves. So I'm going to subtract X from both sides, and I have Y all by itself. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to get Y by itself by subtracting this X and dividing by 0.4. This is useful as Y equals and Y equals. I can put the equals to each other. Because I had 2 unknowns, Y and X, and 2 equations, by putting them together, I have 1 equation now and only 1 unknown, and it makes it so I can solve for X. Okay, after I solve for X, this is how many liters of the 5% that I need. So the 5% solution, I'm going to put in 5.71 liters of the 10, which means I just do 10 minus 5.71 to find Y. And so 4.29 liters is going to be 40%. And let's see if that makes sense. In the beginning we said it needs to be more 5% and less 40 to get down to our 20. There's less of the 40, more of the 5. So this whole thing is my answer. So we're going to make a cran apple juice, and we're going to mix cranberries and apples to get there. So I'm going to do cranberries plus apple is going to equal mixture. And this says the cost of cranberries is going to be $6.30 times cranberries plus $3.60 times apple is going to equal the cost of the mixture. Terrence wants to make a mixture that sells for $4.50. So we're going to say $4.50 times however much mixture that we make. And it says that we're already going to add 4 quarts of apple juice. So that means everywhere that there's an A, I already know it's going to be a 4. So some cranberry plus 4 quarts is going to equal our total mixture. And then 360 times 4 is 14.4. So we've already spent 14.4, and we have to figure out how much cranberry juice we're going to spend to get to this price. So same thing with the chemistry problem. I'm going to get one letter all by itself. We already do. We have mixture by itself on the right hand side of both of these, which means that I can substitute mixture for what it equals. It equals cranberry juice plus 4 quarts, because that's how much our apple juice is. Then we could distribute this. And then all we have to do is solve for C now. We know what C is. Our total mixture is going to be 4.2 quarts to equal our mixture. And that makes sense that cranberry juice is so small, because at $6 we're trying to get down to 4. We have to add very, very little of this and a lot of the cheaper item. I know this is hard, but the whole technique is to make 2 equations, get one letter by itself, put them together, and then solve. If you have any questions, please, please, please go to the comment section. And other than that, be kind to each other, ask lots of questions, and think deeply.